Well, hello everyone. How are you guys? We are being photobombed by Toby. Um, while you guys are hopping on live, I wanted to hop on a little bit earlier than the 6 o'clock time slot because I wanted to get you guys cleansed. I wanted to make sure that I can cleanse everything. And plus, we completely skipped last week. So we skipped last week because honestly, I was not in a mental space for me to do any readings whatsoever. So hopefully you forgive me, but mental health is important. If you have no idea who I am, and this is the first time that we are meeting, well, hello, hello. My name is Meshi. I'm a certified meditation teacher, which feels wild to say. I'm also an intuitive reader and a guide, and I'm here today with your weekly reading. We're back, you guys. So excited. So if you're joining me live, I'm hopping on a little bit earlier because I'm giving you guys the opportunity. If you wanted me to pull a card for you personally, I can definitely do that because I have the capacity today, which is beautiful. Hopefully you can hear me and see me. I cannot tell if you can. It looks like you can, technically. If you can see me live, please let me know that you can actually hear me so I don't have to restart the live stream. On my end, it shows that technically you can, but we never know. Technically, you can hear me. Okay. Fingers crossed that everything in tech world is doing okay. I wanted to give you guys just a brief overview of some of the messages that I have been. I did. There's just so much that's happening right now that I honestly I did not want to hop on live and give you the version of me that felt exhausted, drained, and resentful because I don't think that you deserve that. I think that you deserve the absolute best of me so that you can fill up your cup and I can share all the goodness. This is what's happening. And I don't know if you feel this way or not, but hopefully you can relate. Cycles. What's happening with cycles? Cycles that are repeating, they're repeating themselves. I believe they're for me, the way that they're repeating themselves is through people. So it's sort of like the more I shape shift, the more they stay the same. They kind of present themselves with the exact same, tonality, the exact same sort of underlying problems. And whenever cycles happen like that, I definitely know that it has nothing to do with me. It has more to do with potentially being a karmic cycle. But even within karmic cycles, it's one of those things of how does that impact my life? So if you're seeing that within your world, I kind of wanted to briefly touch on that because cycles are always interesting because it gives you the opportunity to break them. It gives you the opportunity to sort of neutralize it in a way that you kind of like learn the lesson, right? Because it's like, what is it showing you? Like, are you being disrespected? Are you being dismissed? Are you being belittled? Are you being shamed? Are you being like, what is kind of being presented to you and how does that make you feel? How does that make you feel versus how did it make you feel is a really good indication of like, is this a karmic cycle? So there you go. That's kind of what I wanted to like mention when it comes to cycles. And then the other part is, especially if you're on a manifestation journey, is to, and I felt that for like the last 2 weeks, create bridges, create lots and lots of bridges so that you can kind of start hopping rather than feeling like I'm either having this or I'm having this. And there's like nothing in between. So start creating bridges so that you can kind of move forward and actually manifest what you really want, but it might take a few steps to get there, and that's totally fine. These are the two main things that I really wanted to drive home as I'm hopping on live a little bit earlier. Okay, it looks like Toby has laid down. Oh, he's emotionally giving up on pushing agenda tonight, so that's always lovely. I couldn't decide between two decks, so we're going to try both of them on. See how we do tonight. Let's begin with Aries. Aries, what's happening? What's happening with you? I looked into astrology this week and we're having a pretty easy breezy week, which is lovely. Okay, here we go. The universe has your back. Aries, what do you need to know? So we have the universe has your back, we have loneliness, and we have Two of Cups. I I will say this before I even get into the reading. I feel like this week, this reading will have more of a focus around relationships rather than sort of like this general guidance that we usually go after. I feel like this is more to give you guidance when it comes to your personal relationships, whether it's an intimate relationship or relationships within work or relationships within your family. So I just kind of wanted to preface that because that's kind of what it felt like. And even as I was thinking about like what's kind of coming through it, all of these things were definitely related to relationships, so I just kind of wanted to preface that a little bit. I feel like Aries, you guys are really asked to start trusting and leaning towards what you truly desire. And I think that especially when we're looking at it's almost like you're asked to like make friends with loneliness, because loneliness is, first of all, you're never really alone. But what is this loneliness showing you, right? Like what is this concept of loneliness is really like when we're creating all of these walls that we want to kind of shut certain people out, and we don't really want to connect with them, or we don't want to let them in. And a lot of the times it has very little to do with other people, and it has a lot more to do with us having enough confidence within ourselves that it's sort of like we can kind of do it. You know what I mean? Oh, by the way, here, let me just Aries, I'll say 650, but that's not really accurate. I also feel like, especially with the Two of Cups, it's almost like you're seeing, like, to me this is all about like everybody's got somebody and you have somebody too, but it might not be the somebody that you want to end up with. But I definitely feel like you're manifesting a relationship, but you're also being tested, and perhaps you're being tested right now in a way where you're being tested to see, are you going to settle? Are you going to settle being treated the way that you were? And that kind of goes to what I mentioned earlier with breaking cycles, because you're going to be tested, and that happens like right around the time when your manifestation is about to drop in. The universe will always test you to see not so much how bad you want it, but are you willing to let go of old patterns for you to step into this new. And that requires you to leap. It requires you to lean into it with having faith, rather than it requires you to, to like, it's not a calculated thing. You can't like logic your way through this. And I think that in the center of all of this with the loneliness is just, are you okay with being alone? Are you happy with having this relationship with yourself first? Because ultimately it kind of starts from within and then kind of spreads outwards, right? Where we're kind of looking at this loneliness piece is it speaks on codependency, it speaks on, toxic relationships, it speaks on mainly what I'm kind of getting is codependency. So if you were in relationships before when you were highly dependent, or your value or your worth was really attached to how this other person made you feel, and like there's definitely like that trigger and that fear that is being triggered within you, the invitation right now is to have faith that you're breaking that cycle. So it might kind of feel like you're kind of out of your shell a little bit. And that's okay. Sometimes we need to be out of our element in order for us to create space for something new, even though we have no idea how it's going to happen. It will happen, but it's just we don't really have like the clear answer as to how that will happen. So the invitation from spirit is really just for you to lean into your faith before you want to overcalculate and manipulate situations so that it can kind of drop in for you. So hopefully this makes sense. Taurus, you're up next. 9:29. I always write the time slots in there, but like 95% of the time they're not accurate. But that's okay. Taurus, what do you guys need to know this week? I thoroughly enjoy the fact that he's right there. He's so chill. He's like, you know what, Mesh? You do you. Do your thing, girl. If my husband was here, he would be manipulating him so much. It's so funny. But right now, he's just like, nah, it's okay. You can give me food a little bit later. Let me try the other deck. Taurus, what do you guys need to know? So we have energy flows where intention goes. Okay, here we go. Can kind of see that. And then we have strength. I'm trying to play with the sun. The sun is shining in just a little bit too much right now. But it's really not. Like it's barely sunny actually. Taurus, what do you guys need to know? And then we have the Page of Cups. Energy flows where my intention goes. What are you focused on? Because again, the center of the read is strength. And then we have the Page of Cups, which to me, it's all about like, what are we filling up our cup with, right? What are we filling up our soul with? What are we kind of putting in there this week that can really start flowing outwards? Again, it kind of goes back to what I was mentioning earlier, where it's like you can't really like show up and well you can, but I mean it's going to be a burnt out version of you that will show up. I feel like right now like your strength is being tested, maybe. I definitely feel like you can get wrapped up in paying attention to too many things and none of them really are serving you. Like that's kind of what I'm getting right now, where it's like spirit is really asking you to just shift towards you, shift towards the thing that will actually make a bigger impact in whatever you want to manifest, shift towards the things that make you feel validated. Like the strength card, it's to me it's about control. Strength is about control. It has very little to do with your actual strength. It has a lot more to do with what lights you up. It has more to do with not only what lights you up, but like where do you feel like the most within your power. That's what it is. Because if you place your attention and your intention and your energy in the things that really like it lights you up, you feel the most connected, you feel the most in tune with that thing. That could be, the way that you're thoughtful with people, or it could be your hobbies, or it could be any one of the things that really bring you joy. To me, it's almost like the strength card is really asking you to find that joy, the thing that really sparks something inside of you that really feels enticing, it feels amazing, it feels really, I'm almost getting like it feels really delicious for you to just be within that space. Like, oh, this feels awesome. Do that thing. And the more you do that, the more you're going to like release your grip on focusing on things that really don't fill you up, people that don't really make you feel so good, just gossip, like low vibe crap that you might be kind of pulled into. The way that you kind of shift out of that is obviously limit how much like again, like I feel like your underlying message here is actually boundaries. Set boundaries with the people that are really taking too much from you, and then shift your energy towards, and kind of it's almost like boundaries and acceptance. Like those are the two things that are really coming through right now. Boundaries with the people that really drain you off, and then acceptance that your job right now is not to change them, but your job is actually to place your attention and your intention and your energy on the things that really light you up, that really light your fire. Because when you do that, you're showing up with like this whole other energy that kind of flows outwards. And it's like that comes from within. It doesn't come from, again, it doesn't come from like this manufactured place. It really comes from truly from the inside out. So place your focus on that and see how you do. But I feel like, again, astrologically, there aren't too many things that are happening. So I think that you're off to a good start. Let's look at Gemini. So we have 1427 Gemini. Gemini, what do you guys need to know for this week? I forgot how much I love this deck, by the way. If you haven't picked up Gabby Bernstein is like an OG when it comes to like mindfulness based, really beautiful decks. But every time I use her deck, I'm always like, her stuff is so good. Gemini, what do you need to know? What do you need to know? So I recognize that I have chosen fear and I choose again and I choose love. And then we have a gratitude. How pretty is that? And we have the Four of Wands. You guys are going to be recalibrating if you haven't yet already, but this week you have the opportunity to really recalibrate because I feel like you guys are missing a sense of connection with a person that is very special to you. And th- like the message is to show up with the sense of, not just with the sense of integrity, especially if you've been feeling, I feel like you guys been feeling really neglected, really feeling like just lost the connection, or somehow you can't really make the timelines work. And it's sort of like you're going in one direction and the other person is going in another direction. So you're starting to like doubt where the relationship is going. Like doubt is starting to creep in. Like it's sort of like doubt is sort of starting to take over because you're questioning certain elements or the basis of the relationship. And so you're invited to just watch those fears kind of like let them play out, but then let them kind of go to the back seat. Because if you're letting your fears kind of run the show, then you will, every single time that you make a connection with this person, it will always come from like this fear based, insecure space. And when you're really looking at all of the experiences that you have with this person, um, you feel good. So try to focus on the present moment. So here the invitation is to try to focus on the present moment and create opportunities where you can reconnect with this person to see, is this going somewhere, or are we just spinning our wheels because it feels nice because we each have time for each other right now? But really, we're not really making ultimately the long-term effort where we can not only move in the same direction, but we're growing together. Essentially, I think that some of you guys are really doubting certain elements of these relationships because it's almost like you're doubting it because you want to grow with this person, especially if you're on this expansive journey, this spiritual journey where you're really learning and rediscovering like what it is that you want, what is your worth, like truly stepping into your power. And I think that right now, like you're kind of bringing it back to, okay, what do we already have? How does that moment feel with this person? So, like, the invitation is always to kind of just return back to, instead of projecting all of your fears, to really take a look at how things are actually going, try to connect with this person, and then that will give you a lot more clarity. It's almost like allow the present moment to be your guide rather than you projecting like these different timelines, because that can go into 1,000 different directions. And honestly, it just drains off your own energy. And you can always shape shift and really see like why is that happening, right? Why is my fear kind of taking over? What can I do to really offset that? Like there's just so much for me to unpack here on this, but especially when it comes to relationships, if you're not dealing with what happened in the past, if you're constantly projecting what has happened in the past and you're bringing it into this current relationship, you're already tainting it and not really giving it like fresh soil. I don't know, for some reason, like I saw like plants growing, and like when you're like, it's almost like just planting seeds, right? And when something is new and fresh, you can't expect that to have like deep roots the same way as something that you've had for years. So don't expect that it will have the same feel to it. But nevertheless, focusing on what you already have, focusing on the connection that you have with this person, and focusing on all of the good that is going well is so much more important. But sometimes gratitude can also be about just recognizing, like, wow, this is so not working. Thank you for showing me that that's how it is on the fifth day, so that I'm not spending the next 20 years like spinning my wheels with you and wondering why you and I are not growing together. So either way, it's all of this is always a gift. It's always a gift, because even when things are not going, it gives you it's information, and it gives you that insight to like move forward, and you get to choose. But there's a big difference between that, you choosing that, versus you feeling like, oh, I had like no idea that you and I are not vibing anymore. So you always have a choice. Okay, who is next? We have Cancer. So 2019, Cancer. Okay. Okay, Cancers, what do you guys need to know? What do you need to know for this week? Cancer. Oh, okay. You guys are going through it this week. Kind. So I spoke too soon when I said that my dog doesn't manipulate. He really does. Okay, so first we have there is a stream of love supporting my dreams. And then we have divine guidance. And then we have the King of Swords. Let's unpack what's happening here. There's a stream of love supporting my dreams. Okay. You might not feel supported. Like you might not feel supported, especially by the people that are like the closest to you. It might just feel like, it's almost like dying from like 1,000 paper cuts. You know what I mean? Like they might not say it up front that, you know what, like most people, honestly, most people will not say, hey, your dreams are pretty stupid. They will not say that, but they will do it in a really indirect, really weird way where it's like, you wanted to do this thing at like, 7 o'clock. Well, I'm just not gonna, or I'm gonna be late because whatever I was doing was just far more important. So like it might show up in an indirect way where it's like you're not being prioritized or like petty arguments that happen about something that actually doesn't matter, but then the big conversations are not happening. And so you're sort of shown that you are being guided if you're with someone or your relationships just feel like there's just so much drama. There's just so much that you're just sort of like you're navigating and you're just like, like you're like dodging all of these knives. You're dodging all of these different like bullets, sort of say, that it just feels like, oh gosh, like, does this ever get easier? And the thing is, like, it does get easier, but when it gets easier, it's knowing that, like, listen, like, it's prepping you for something. It's prepping you because it's expanding your capacity for you to be able to do the thing that you really want to do. So when we're saying there's a stream of love supporting my dreams, really, like, your dreams are always supported. Like the thing that like lights you up, the thing that comes to your heart as like insight, as like it literally gets channeled from spirit that says, you know what, this is the thing that you need to do with your life. Well, it's planted in your heart, it's planted in your soul for a reason. However, it does not mean, and I think this is where people get really confused, that the thing that gets planted in your soul as like, oh, you're gonna love doing this and you're going to be guided, but sometimes you're, and even when I say you're being guided, like I used to assume what that means is like, oh, you're being guided to like the right person who's gonna make you feel good, who's gonna get you your Starbucks. No, sometimes you're being guided to like the biggest jerk who will make you feel like garbage, because that's where you find your own strength. So just be really careful with not only what you ask for, especially if you're asking for like, sorry guys, especially when you're asking for like big things that like, oh, like it kind of takes your breath away. Just know that, you're being guided towards that. I'm going to mute this because I know I'm going to get another call. You're being guided towards that because it's almost like you need to develop the strength and the stamina for you to be able to kind of do the thing, to be in that relationship. And it has like nothing to do with being worthy of the relationship. You're already worthy of it, but you need to go through the crappy relationships before, almost like before you get to like, if there's karmic lessons that you need to learn, then you need to kind of go through that with certain people. You need to go through those experiences so that you find your own strength within that. So that's kind of what it means when we're saying you're divinely guided. Spirit will always leave you little breadcrumbs that says, you know what, maybe go this way, it will be good for you. And literally it means it will be good for you. It doesn't mean that it's in alignment with what your worth is, but it just means that there's something for you there. whether it's something that is like an aligned something, or it means that you need to move in that direction because that person is for you, right? Or you need to learn something, one way or the other. And they're both good. They're both good, but like they feel experimentally, like they just feel totally different. So just know that you are supported, and the right people will always kind of come, and they will also kind of like push you along and like cheerlead for you. So just be a lookout for both. Just see like, okay, how is this relationship really working for me? Is this the right person for me? Because if it's not, then I know that the right person is coming, and then but I need to kind of work through this first so that I can move on. Hopefully this makes sense. Okay, let's see who is next. We have Leo at 2608. Okay, Leos, what do you need to know? Okay, Leo. Okay, so first we have hope is a conduit of miracles. Then we have acceptance. And then we have the Six of Pentacles. And like, can we talk about like how cool is that? I feel like this week there's like a lot of, sounds like there's a lot of work that's happening underneath the surface. So not a lot of like outwardly, like shape shifting and like you're making things happen, but there's a lot of like you're learning how to really truly love yourself, how to really accept aspects of yourself where you kind of know that a lot of the things that you were doing in the past were basically, it's either coming from inner child trauma, or it's your shadow showing itself. That's how you learn to kind of cope with what's happening. And there's also this sense of when you kind of look at that and embrace it and see what part of you, I feel like you guys are on this healing journey, but I also feel like when you look at it from a place of love and compassion rather than from a place of shame and disgust, then it's almost like the invitation here is to, can you lean into the help and can you accept help, right? Can you ask others to be of support of you? Can you ask them to, can you accept help? Like that's kind of what I'm getting. Like, can you allow yourself to be vulnerable enough to accept the help that's kind of coming in, the support that's trying to come in, whether that's through friendships or it's through professional help or it's through your own inner workings. But can you surrender essentially and know that like it's like you're full circle, right? Like you have both wonderful qualities and then you have the shadow, and you need to kind of embrace both. And that's sort of what I'm kind of getting with like hope is the conduit of miracles, because I feel like when there's like a level of vulnerability and self-acceptance, then you're opening up aspects of yourself that you didn't even know existed. So that's kind of what might happen. And maybe I kind of feel like it's almost like you've had this wall up with the people around you, especially with intimate relationships. Like you had like this wall up that said, you know what, I don't want you to see that aspect of me, or I don't want you to see that aspect of me yet, because I'm showing you a version of me that is really bright and shiny and wonderful. And it's like you're kind of both. And if people can't handle like the full and true you, then they're probably not going to stick around anyway. So then you're just kind of elongating like that painful goodbye, because at one point you're going to have to do the acceptance on you and stop worrying about what other people think of you, if that makes sense. So spirit is asking you to be vulnerable. Can you allow yourself to be vulnerable enough for people to see you truly, and give people a chance so that they can see you for who you are, rather than you kind of making assumptions that you're going to be deemed horrible or you're going to be judged or shamed or whatever. Like that's always an option, but when you're vibrating at a higher level and you've already accepted yourself, then it's sort of like, what difference does it make if people judge you? Do you know what I mean? Like we're not going to be placing too much of an importance on like what people say about us, because they're not going to be defining us. We define ourselves, not other people. And I feel like somebody needed to hear that today. So that's your reading, Leo. Virgos. Okay. Virgo. I have too many windows open. Here we go. What do you guys need to know? Hi, Molly. Hello. Everybody comes and says hi. Everybody. Hi, Pocket. Hey, girl. Okay. And last one. Okay, so we have, when I lean on the faith of the universe, peace becomes real. Then we have mindfulness. And then we have the Eight of Cups. So let's unpack everybody. Today I do all things with awareness, presence, and intention. When I lean on the faith of the universe, peace becomes real. It's like you guys are invited to kind of like bring presence here right now, right? But beyond, but like, why would we want to do that? Because then that's when you can kind of notice and acknowledge the work that you're putting in, and you're putting in work every single day, and you're putting a lot of energetic work in, and you're it's almost like you're constantly working on improving your relationships, you're constantly working on improving your livelihood, you're constantly working on improving and expanding, right? But there's that aspect that says, okay, when it's not so much like when is it my turn, because it's up to you to create that circumstance as well. But I definitely feel like you're working on creating this environment where you're held, right? Where you're where everybody feels that inner balance around you. And if you're creating that, then you can create that for yourself too. So the things that we can create for other people is the thing that we can create for ourselves too. And you need to learn to create that for other people and for yourself as well. So, but it's sort of like, okay, but just pay attention to not only how you do things, but why you do things. Like, sort of like, what is the intention behind why you're doing the things that you're doing, right? Like, what is the intention behind it? Is it so that it becomes harmonious for everybody, or is it because there's an alternative motive, like with my dog? Is there something that you kind of want to get out of this? Because if there is, then that's not really creating inner and outer harmony for everybody around you. That's really just you just doing things because then you know what the outcome will be. So just kind of, it's almost like this is sort of like your invitation to just kind of check on your own intention of why you're doing the things that you're doing for other people, and what do you need to do for yourself so that you feel that inner and outer balance. And the way that you can do that is by bringing awareness to the present moment. What is here right now? What are you working on right now for yourself? Do things for yourself. before you do things for other people. I feel like we get caught up in this idea that we need to do things for other people and then we feel worthy and then that's when things become easier. And it's like, no, it's the other way around. You need to do things for yourself first and you need to be at peace with yourself first, but you have to check intention. Intention really does matter of why you're showing up and then what you're providing. I'm warning you guys, this is going to get really noisy in about 2 minutes because everybody's whining and my husband just came home and I see it. I'm just fair warning. I should actually create a timestamp of when things got noisy. Okay. Next up. Oh boy. 35, 39. This, see, I told you. Okay. 35, 48, and Libra, you're up next. I feel like we're making such progress right now. Toby. He's not going to be any less noisy, I'm sorry. Like it's okay. Okay, Libras, what do you guys need to know? Oh, wrong card. In every moment, the universe is conspiring to bring me toward right-minded thinking and the energy of love. Then we have new beginnings. Libra, what do you need to know? Okay. And then we have the Five of Cups. Like it's almost like you guys are going to be working on like shifting your mindset, shifting your energy. Because you're like, I feel like some of you guys are at this space where not only are you mentally exhausted, but it's like there's like this deep sense of grief and like regret, right? Like you're focused on like in ways that you failed. Oh, it's like you're focused on ways that you're not measuring up instead of focusing on all the ways that you are. Like you're focused on like it's almost like what I didn't say or how I didn't say it or maybe if I was, you know what I mean? Like I'm kind of getting like that whole, like your mind is spiraling where it's showing you all of these different scenarios of how you could have improved instead of just accepting how you actually are and then allowing people to kind of match you and meet you and knowing that you're human. Like I feel like there's like this definitely this sense of like needing to accept that you're human and just accept that sometimes your emotions are not always going to be fully in balance and we're not always saying the right and the most perfect thing and we're not always like fully like vibing all the time and we're not supposed to, so just keep that in mind. The other part of it is you can always sort of shift like where your emotions are going. You can always shift, you know, like you can always kind of shift your mindset and the thing that you're focusing on, because sometimes we do have those negative thoughts and that's totally fine. What I think is actually happening, especially if there's like the sense of crumbling that has been going on within your relationships, is that something new is you're being led to somewhere new, something new, someone new, a new, like you're going to feel differently about this and it's going to feel like a breath of fresh air. Told you. I know it. They were so excited. See what I mean? Sorry about that, guys. Just knowing that there's something new that's waiting on the other side of this sense of like, on the other side of this feeling of like, you're only worthy of like feeling shitty. You know what I mean? Like when you kind of run that through your head and knowing that there's something more that's waiting for you, just know that. That's all I wanted to tell you. And knowing that like you have the ability and you're able to kind of pull yourself out of that. That's fully available to you. And I have faith that you will be able to do that. Okay, who is next? Sag, right? You know, we did Libra, so next up is Scorpio. Scorpio is 4004. Scorpio, what do you guys need to know? He's crying because he's hungry. Scorpio, what do you guys need to know? I surrender to a power greater than me. Scorpio, what do you guys need to know? Then we have power. We have Six of Pentacles again. Okay, so I think what's happening is there's a sense of ego death that's happening, and on the other side of that, you're going to kind of find your actual like gift, the actual thing that you're supposed to be doing, the actual thing that really not only lights you up, but just really moves you in the direction that you really want to go to, right? But there has to be a sense of like ego death where you surrender and knowing that you don't know all the answers. You're not the smartest person in the room. You don't know how it's going to like play out. You don't necessarily know how it's going to play out, not all the time. And it's okay to accept help. Again, it's knowing that there's sometimes we might have a sense of the what, but we need to really release the how it's going to unfold for us. Like we need to kind of just follow emotionally what actually feels expansive, but beyond that your job is not really to like we get so like micro on I need to know all the answers and then the how and then with the what funnel and then the whatever, and we get so caught up in that ego driven thinking. So right now you're invited to like let go of that. Just know that it's okay. You find yourself the moment that you kind of let go of like all of these different labels, especially with how you think you're showing up within your relationships, especially with how you show up with your intimate partners. It's in the knowing of like I know nothing, and that's where you kind of find who you actually are. It's in the I don't know yet. I don't know who I'm becoming with this person yet. I don't know who I'm becoming yet because I'm getting to know who I'm becoming, who I'm expanding into. And that can be both vulnerable and really scary and both very exciting, right? Because then we're really leaving behind all of the labels of who we think we are and how we need to be with certain people and really leaving space for them to kind of develop into whoever they're going to be. And then it also leaves you space of you don't always need to lead with your ego. You don't always need to lead with that sense of like you know everything and you know all the answers, because when it comes right down to it, most of us have no idea who we are. And when you do all of that and when you can kind of release this grip on who you are or who you think you are, you find you find like who you actually are. But again, it's sort of like that same sense of just like you need to kind of let go of all the labels in order for you to really find who you are. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, who is next? Sag. So 43. Oh, that was a quick reading. Okay. Popped right out. You have another repeat. Okay. So obstacles. Ooh, you can see it. There we go. Obstacles are detours in the right direction. Then we have new beginnings again. And then we have the Five of Pentacles. Now I'll just show you the card. It's like you're weathering the storm, right? But what are you weathering? Like what are you working through right now? Because it's leading you to something new. But I think that it's almost like I feel like if you have been kind of looking at all of these different things that were coming up, all of these different obstacles that were coming your way that have been thrown at you, and you're sort of asking, why is this happening? Maybe you're not looking at it from a place of a victim, but you're looking at it, you're just simply like, there's a sense of confusion of like, Jesus, like, when does this chapter end? The invitation here is for you to understand that it is coming to an end. It is changing. It is shifting. If you give yourself, like, if you give yourself the, almost like, yeah, give yourself permission for it to flow. And then when it flows, then it can move through a little bit faster. Like, it's almost like there has to be a sense of acceptance, but then there also has to be a sense of just knowing that whatever you're going through that feels really heavy, that feels really dark right now, that just feels like you're right in the thick of it, it's not going to be like that forever. And it's actually like leading you into something new that's a little bit more in alignment with what you want. It's a little bit more, it's brighter. It's like, usually, especially if you're feeling like not so much things are crumbling, but it just feels like things are kind of falling apart essentially. It's because it's leading you somewhere different than where you have been. But you moving through a lot of these different obstacles is leading you in a direction where you need to go, right? But at the time, it does not feel like that. At the time, it feels really heavy. It feels like you're like moving through mud, and it feels like it's going to last forever. Even though it won't, it can't. It, like, it simply is not able to. But it's, again, like, just the answer is really like, who do you become in the process of all of this, right? Like, who do you become through weathering the storm? Because if the only thing that you're doing is just hustling for the sake of hustling, and then you're neglecting people around you, or you're in, or you're in this relationship with people that really don't make you feel good, and you just feel like that's sort of your obligation to just stay, that's not it. Like, really, it really isn't. Like, your job is not to constantly absorb the way people treat you, it's to guide you, it's trying to guide you. So just use that as guidance. Don't use that as like punishment, because I think that sometimes that can get really, you can get caught up in the idea that you're being punished when you're not. Again, there's like the whole like victim mentality, and I'm not really going to get into that, but just knowing that, like, you're actually being guided and something new is trying to come through on the other side, and you have to have faith that it is. Lean into that faith. That's all I got for you, Sag. Capricorn, you're up next. 4738. Oh, no. I'm going to write that again. It's 4738, even though I'll know what it means. And if you're just joining me live, I'm doing a reading for everybody. And in the chat, I left the timestamp. So you can always just go back, but I will be adding the timestamp in at the very end. Okay, Capricorns. What do you guys need to know? A lot of repeat cards today. Okay. My energy creates my reality, and what I focus on is what I will manifest. And then we have power, and then we have the sun. How beautiful are we today? My energy creates my reality. Where's your energy at? What are you manifesting is more of an accurate question, because I think that some of you guys are manifesting something that you really want to, and it will, whatever you're manifesting, it's going to give you the opportunity to really, like, it's really a full alignment for you. And it's beautiful because it really allows you to be seen and to be heard and to actually make the contribution in the world the way that you really want to. Like, I feel like your manifestation is not really self-centered. It's for you, but it's also for others. And it's allowing you to, you're aligning up to, like, actually putting your energy towards the actions and towards the things that are getting you closer or actually fully come to fruition of what it is that you've been wanting, because I feel like this has been like a long time coming. And within your relationships, perhaps it's going to be like having those connections. It's excuse me, you're aligning with people that are, they're just in more in alignment with who you are, right? Like you're aligning with people that actually see you. You're aligning with, it's almost like you're really finding your soul tribe, and knowing that when you put energy into those relationships, when you put energy into those endeavors, into those hobbies, into those things, you really find the connections and the people and that emotional fulfillment that you've been seeking, even though you know that you don't need them to define you. But there's just something to be said about having a sense of community where you truly feel safe and you actually shine, and there's something for you to contribute there. Again, that could be a hobby, that could be, I just kind of feel like you're really finding your people. That's kind of what I'm getting. It could be like a group of friends, but it could also be really like the connection that you have with someone special is really making you feel like it's almost like you've arrived, if that makes sense. But it doesn't feel like a, like it feels like a very equal, like mutually beautiful relationship. So kudos to you. It's beautiful. Okay, we are up to my fellow Aquas at 5147. Aqua. What do you need to know, Aquas? In every moment, the universe is conspiring to bring me toward right minded thinking and the energy of love. So, again, we have another repeat. Then we have kindness. And then we have the King of Wands. I feel like you guys, and we're just sort of contemplating, right? We're contemplating on, I feel like this week is basically we're contemplating like not so much the how, but like you're kind of, it's almost like you're envisioning like where you're picking up momentum. You know what I mean? Um, you're lighting something up. You're lighting something up within you, and you're also, I don't know. I feel like you're really like, we are really in that space this week where it's almost like you first, me first, you know? Like how can I practice kindness, love, gratitude, compassion for me first, you know? Where really like your actions are going to be, again, it's like the realignment that is happening towards the thing that, not so much the things that inspire you, but the things that like they light you up, but they don't light you up as in like you were like you're so in, but they kind of just, oh, that would be nice. That would be good. That would be fun. It's just like it's this moments of inspiration, and I think that will happen through doing things for you first. Really, like the invitation this week is to do things for you first before you do things for anybody else. But beyond that, it's knowing that all of these things are realigning for you so that you step into your power, right? And and then the right people come, and then the right relationships form, the right business relationships form, the right connections, the right idea, the right offering, the right thing kind of clicks into place, right? but that has to come from a place of, it's almost like you have to stop shoulding. Like, oh, I should do that. Oh, well, we should be. No, we're not doing that anymore. And then the other part of it is, don't let other people kind of tell you how to feel about your business, about your relationships. Don't let other people kind of like, don't let the outside noise really define where you're going, what lights you up, and why you're doing it. Because especially you guys, Aquas, you're not really supposed to be defined by the external world. Like, you're very much paving your own way. And so it's almost like you need to really reconnect with your own inner compass for you to know like what is the next right step for you. And it's kind of hard because most people can't really tell you what the next right step is for you, because it will always come from their smallness, if that makes sense. Like, whatever you're receiving, it's always going to come from a biased place. So nobody knows truly what is right for you except for you. So if you can practice in micro ways this week to be a little bit gentler with yourself, to be a little bit kinder with yourself, the same way that you can express that with other people, you need to be able to express that with yourself as well. That's all I got for you guys, Aquas. And Pisces, we are at 56:15. Okay. Pisces, what do you need to know? Lots of repeats again. So there's a stream of love supporting my dreams. Then we have strength. And then we have the Four of Pentacles. I feel like you have like put things on almost like, you're not really putting things on a lockdown, but you're definitely guarding something. And I think that you're guarding being seen, right? Like, I feel like you're being really guarded about not just what you truly desire. Like, you're kind of playing it small, playing it safe, kind of. It's almost like, I don't want to share all of it because then it actually scares me too. And then the other part of it is that I don't want you to see me vulnerable. But you being vulnerable, especially with people around you, is your strength, right? You need to know that it's where, it's almost like that's where you're going to be not only seen but heard at the same time, right? So I just think that you need to give yourself permission to be seen, to be heard, and knowing that when you become more vulnerable with people, when you become vulnerable in general, then you're giving people the opportunity to truly see you for who you are. And being guarded is kind of knocking people out. Like, it's not letting anybody in. So really allow some people in and see what happens, and knowing that you have the strength for you to not only protect yourself but also to kind of connect with people on a deeper level, because I feel like you're really yearning for that, and you have been yearning for that for a really long time, right? So there's that element of that invitation of like, be okay with being seen, be okay with um be okay with, you know, not being so strong all the time, because true strength actually comes from a place of being vulnerable, right? That's all I have for you. We made it. We made it, you guys. This is all I have for you. For this week, there's not going to be a guided practice, just so you know, because I'm simply not available on Wednesday. I might do like a little, if you guys are interested, you can let me know in the chat. Let me take a screenshot because I know I will forget. Here we go. There is going to be, I might do a live on Friday if you guys are interested in just like singular card pulls, but that's basically all I have. I hope that this has resonated, and nice to be back, first of all, for Monday evening. And that's all I got for you. And if you've enjoyed this, here we go. So much noise. If you've enjoyed this, you already know how to support the channel. You can give it a thumbs up. You can also subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you actually get notified. And I will see you guys again in my next video, which is going to be, I think, actually going to release on Wednesday. Bye.